All right, beautiful people. Welcome to the Day and Night Podcast. This is your host, Matthew. We got the co-host, Mark, in San Antonio. So as always, beautiful people, continue to like, subscribe, and comment if you can. We haven't been on Spotify, haven't posted it like I normally do, but I'm going to start posting it again this Friday. So we have a good topic for y'all today. Um, Hopefully everybody relate. They should be able to relate. And so as always, like I say, beautiful people, your thoughts becomes your belief, and your belief becomes your reality. And just a quick happy Memorial Day for everybody in remembrance to the brothers and sisters in arms. One, our brother, rest in peace. And our dad, rest in peace. And to anyone else that have loved ones that may have served in the military and unfortunately lost their lives, due to serving this country. So, all right. So, Mark, what you have for us?
Well, just start off same thing. Thank you everybody for joining us. It's a beautiful Saturday. Same, happy Memorial Day weekend. And you just echo what you just said, Matt, about to the lost ones, to Jay, our dad, and all the service members out there. Definitely appreciate it. I have much respect for the military. I'm not going to go into a big spill on that, but just enjoy the weekend, guys. Y'all deserve it. So on that, I'm ready to get this show started. It's going to be a little different for me, so I'm really interested on how this is going to go for me because it's going to open my eyes on a lot of things. So I'm ready to do it. Let's get it.
All right.
All right. So today's topic is shadow work and exposing hidden trauma. So, I've been in deep thought about this for the last couple of weeks. And the thing that prompted me to really talk about it is I know everybody have heard or seen the situation that happened with Diddy and his ex-girlfriend. I think it was 3-4 years ago. And I was watching the podcast, and it was with Charlemagne the God. And it's something that he said that like really resonated with me. And he was like, this man at the time was 40 something years old. And he was like, how in the world you that old at the age of 40 something and you still dealing with trauma or even had to put yourself in a situation to where you had to stomp on somebody that you claim that you love. And that's what he just kept like focusing in on as far as this is someone he said that he loved and he stomped her like that. And I believe they said she was unconscious and he kicked her. But anyway, everyone saw the video. I'm pretty sure everybody knows the situation that's going on with that. So again, that's what prompted me to want to do this podcast is because it's something that everybody, I don't care who out there that may think that they got everything together and they 100%, nobody's 100% because no one has truly made it to that point. So it's a daily um, thing that we have to work on to become our better selves and to reach our higher selves. And the only way of doing that is doing shadow work. So I know some people, they focus on religion. Some people have meditation. Everybody have some type of vice that they use to escape whatever trauma that they experience, during childhood or rather it's the young adulthood. But that's good. I'm not saying those things don't work, but the shadow work has been proven that it does work. And it's more to it than just praying and hoping God take it away from you. And it's just not that's not the way it's going to happen. We live in this human experience. We have a brain, we got a subconscious mind, and we have a conscious mind. And that's more so what the shadow work is focusing on the subconscious mind. Again, it's those things that we experience, whether we was children or a young adult. We suppress it in the back of our mind. And if most people don't know, we focus and we mainly live off of our subconscious mind. So anything that we're dealing with or have dealt with, it comes to the forefront. And, that's how people act out. They have triggers, whether someone said something, whether somebody look at you a certain type of way. It's something that can trigger a person to get out of character and to act out. And more or less, it's only because of something that they dealt with in in the past. That's all that is. And a lot of people would like to label or some people are crazy, some people have chemical imbalances, which is true. But for the most part, the average person that don't have a chemical imbalance, or don't have some type of mental disability, most of it is from past trauma that they experienced and they never dealt with it. And it just festered and festered, as they grew older and older and became a young adult and then an older adult. And I'm going to tag off something that you like to bring up a lot of time, Mark, is your job. I've said it before that I do customer service, and people are so short and triggered. Like it blows my mind because it's just words. And for me, words should not get a person to the point to where they're ready to fight, kill somebody, or inflict damage or some type of harm based off of words. And the only reason why that happens is because it triggers something that they never dealt with and they act out on it. So that's why shadow work is 100% important, and we have to do it. That's not something that's just like, I might do it or I might think about it. It's something that we have to do, especially if you're the type, not you, but if someone's not the type of person that don't believe in therapy, talking to a counselor, we have to do it, because just the way we're built in this human body and with this subconscious mind, it's going to affect you. And that's the sad part, is so many people don't believe that. They think they can deal with it. And a lot of times they can't. And that's where you get people, like I said, killing, injuring, or whatever the case is. And like even with the beef stuff that we got going on with in the hip hop entertainment and basketball, just across the board, people are clapping back because somebody said something. And I'm like, damn, people are so sensitive. And again, it triggers something in that person because something that happened to them at some point in their life, and they feel as though they have to respond to it, which is crazy. So I'm just going to read something that I wrote down. And as always, I have like context as far as what we're going to talk about. So like shadow work is a psychological and spiritual practice that involves exploring and integrating the unconscious parts of our personality, often referred to as the shadow. So that's where the concept, the shadow, like I said, is the subconscious mind. It's that piece of us or part of us that we try to hide that nobody can see, but it's lurking in the background in our shadow. So that's hence where the concept shadow work comes from. So we're working on that. So these hidden aspects can include repressed emotions, unresolved trauma, and unacknowledged desires. By bringing these elements into conscious awareness, individuals can achieve greater self understanding or understanding, overstanding, and healing. And I have a couple of detailed guides of how to approach shadow work, specifically for exposing and addressing the hidden trauma that we all have. Everybody have it. I'm not just talking about, people and sitting here like I don't have that issue. We all got it. So these are the things that we're going to discuss today: is understand the concept of the shadow, importance of it, creating a safe environment, physical space, emotional safety, journaling, which is my favorite, daily practices, prompts, mindfulness and meditation, therapeutic techniques, inner child work, dream analysis, creative expression, body awareness, and self-compassion and patience. So that's what we're going to talk about. So I want to hear, your perspective on it, Mark, and then I'm going to get into the definition of shadow work and importance of it.
Well, that's a lot. But so I mean, personally for myself, yeah, you right 100% on everybody has it. And I know right off the bat, clearly, what my shadow work needs to be and it's something I've been putting off. So I was that guy that I don't need psychiatry or therapy. I can deal with it. I'm past that, and clearly I haven't, because mine is more based off of relationships. And now that I'm kind of doing my own, I'm still gonna have to go further. Like I said, I'm still kind of new to the shadow work, but I know one of them is going back to when we was kids, and one of it is kind of how we grew up. And to me personally, I think we grew up with a wonderful family household, but at the same time, I think everybody has their issues. And one thing that I stuck out to me, and I'm not gonna try to make this a long, drawn out story, is I was talking to a lady friend of mine's, and I was describing, and even all my exes, I always resort back to when we was kids, and I love my mom to death. I respect her. She's a wonderful woman, but I think one thing that deeply affected me, and I think more as I got older, is the way she treated dad. I mean, she treated dad with respect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not sitting here saying that she was totally rude, but it was some things that she did do that kind of set with me and then had me have a different perspective with women. So I think that's something that carried over. And even though I was a kid then, I let it get to the point where I never faced it, dealt with it, acknowledged it, and I just kind of, like you said, let it subdue it back in my subconscious, but it acted out clearly the way I treated women. So I think that's something that's definitely my biggest issue. So I think it's something that we all do need to target, focus on, and realize that, yeah, we can't just suppress it. We have to face it at some point, because that's demons is what I call them, that we have to deal with to be able to move forward and get that part of your life and get it done and over with. So I do believe that we all need to work on it and just acknowledge it and say that, hey, I do need to do some work. So shadow work for me is definitely something I'm going to be doing going forward, just because I notice, like I said, things that there's been a pattern that's been happening with me for like the last 10 years. So I'm at the point now, it's like, yeah, it's something I need to address, because it's clearly it's affecting me, and it's definitely affecting how I treat other people. So it's definitely something that has to be done. So I'm very interested on all these different levels. There's a lot of them, but yeah, it's good to go through them.
We're gonna be
So
here
I'm
for
gonna have a bunch of questions with that. So I hate to put it on you as if you're the one that's gonna have to answer them, but just kind of putting it out there. So I'm gonna let you come back on what you have to say, but then I'm gonna start asking a lot of questions on this. So
all right, all right. All right, so I like that. I like how you and I can actually see the difference as far as the last time we talked or was on air, and you was talking about how you're doing introspection and stuff like that. And just like last week, a lot of the stuff that I have down, you already hit. So I know you're on the right track. So that's a good sign, because that means you're on the right direction, and it's the right time, so to speak.
yeah.
So I already basically read the definition of what shadow work is. So I'm just going to give like a background of where it came from. So the shadow term is coined by Carl Jung, and he basically said it refers to, like I said, the unconscious part of our personality that we deny or suppress. And this can include negative traits, past traumas, and unprocessed emotions. So that's interesting. And I do believe we had a great childhood and stuff like that. But like everybody, we're going to experience something. And for you, the same thing that you experienced as far as like how mom treated dad was one of the things that scarred me too and traumatized me. And it affected me in a different way than it affected you. And I believe now, to an extent, I got rid of it, but there's still some residue that's there that I haven't got over. And just I have to say this, I love my sisters. Mark, you know this. I was always like, black women this, black women that. I always supported them. And not that I don't now, because I have 4 beautiful young ladies, and then the beautiful nieces that I have. but I've actually realized that I do have like a deep down kind of animosity towards Black women, and most of it is because how mom treated dad, and because she was our mother, I didn't take that out on her. I took it out on the people who I started to date, and then of course my ex-wife, because it was more subconscious. Even though I was professing and saying I love Black women, I love dark skin, I love my chocolate sisters, which is still true to this day. I don't. It's not that I don't. It's just that trauma that I experienced, I didn't heal it. So I wasn't able to treat them the way I was supposed to. And then I still have a little bit of animosity, towards Black women to this day because of that. And I remember I was working with this one sister that was doing shadow work on me, or spiritual work. And she knew, even though I didn't physically say it or verbally say it, she could tell that there was something there. And she was like, whatever happened with your mom, you need to heal from that, because it definitely affects how you treat women and how you talk to women, especially Black women. And I was like, what? No, I love Black women. There's no way, you're wrong. And she was the first person to really bring it to my attention. And then from that point, that's when I really started getting more into doing the shadow work. And for me, I love to journal. To me, journaling is the best form of therapy. And as I said before, everyone knows that I'm a heavy believer in energy. Everything is energy. So trapped emotion is energy. And at some point, that energy has to be released. Some people release it in different ways. Like I said, everyone has a vice. So for me, when I'm writing, that's me releasing that built up animosity, that negative energy, and I can feel it. Like when I'm writing it down and stuff, I can feel that load lifted off my shoulders, and I feel a whole lot lighter because I got rid of all that negative energy. And that's why I just love journaling more so than anything else. And that's basically what the definition of shadow work is. It's just working on hidden trauma. And a lot of times people don't know what that hidden trauma is. So I want to first say we have to actually identify what it is first before we work on it. And when you're doing the journaling, that's something you have to be like 100% honest with yourself. You got to be transparent, and you can't hold anything back. And you just have to just let loose, and whatever emotion you're feeling at the time, you just write it down. And when I did that, I found myself to feel lighter. I wasn't as angry, and I was smiling a lot more. I wasn't walking around like mean mugging and stuff. So I know for me, journaling works. Journaling works. For everybody, you might have something else that works for them. So now I'm just going to touch on the importance as far as integrating the shadow can lead to the personal growth, improved mental health, and more authentic life. So just like I was saying, it's definitely going to help you progress to become a better person, because you're not walking around with all that built up negative energy and animosity and hurt and pain as far as whatever you experience, where, like I said, as an adult or as a young child. So, Mark, what's your take on the definition, being that I read it now, and how do you perceive that?
I mean, that's good. So I'm going to make a comment, then I'm going to have a question on as well. So for you, like you said, journaling, that's something that, I'm going to have to get comfortable being uncomfortable, because I've just never been a person to write stuff down, which that's, I'm learning and understanding even at this point in my life that is one of the best ways to release is by writing it down, because you, like you said, you just feel the energy coming out, and you put it on paper. Mine personally is I'm more of a physical active person. So mine always been in the gym for like the last 10 years, like religiously. When I'm stressed out or I have a lot of issues going on, I hit the gym. It's not always just hitting weights. It's just the ambiance of being in the gym, for one. Two, it's the bag. Like me hitting that punching bag, releasing that stress, that frustration, whatever outside world, I bring it in there and then just decompress. And typically that's how I release my tension or, stress is through the gym. Now, the question I have, when you were saying, write it down, you did say be transparent with yourself. So I guess what I'm trying to figure out is for anybody, if we're trying to shadow work with ourselves, do you, and I know this is more spiritually doing it. So if you don't have someone per se, a therapist that's going to help you focus on and trigger the things that affected you, how will you really be able to write it down? Because if you're in denial, will you be able to say, well, this is what's wrong, or you just doing it when you're mad or stressed at that time and you write it down? Let's say it's just a regular day and you wasn't stressed out, but you just feel kind of like lethargic. Would you shadow work on that day and say, okay, it's probably because whatever happened is affecting me? In other words, what I'm trying to ask is, how do you know what day or when to do that? Like, how could you pinpoint that without having a professional kind of draw it out of you, like trigger something that's going to bring it out? Now you start expressing yourself and you start to realize, damn, this is what's my problem. If that makes sense. Because to me, like, if I don't think about it, then I'm not going to have no reason to go unless I'm just a day where I'm just down and I'm just feeling like I don't want to deal with anything. Then I sit back and ask myself, why am I feeling like this? Then I'm like, yeah, it's just a certain day that bothers me. Like for me with Jay, when he passed, certain things come up that we used to do. Like the Taste of New Orleans is here in San Antonio. And I don't know if you remember Fiesta, big thing with San Antonio. And you was there. We used to always go every year. And then even when you went into the military, that was one thing that Jay and I always did. So that was the thing that always, we did for all the years that we was here together. So when that came about, and I was like, why am I feeling down? It's just something is weird. And then I didn't think about it. Then I realized somebody said, well, hey, happy Fiesta. And then that trip, then I was like, that's what it is. Because typically this would be our Saturday or the weekend. The first weekend of April is always Fiesta here in San Antonio. So that's something that triggered me and made me reminisce. And then I felt that's why I was down and out. So that's what I'm trying to say is that's the only time would you do shadow work is when you feel in a type of way, or you just need to sit down and just literally on your own, just focus on why am I feeling like this? And I need to write it down. If that makes sense. Because to me, it feels like you would have to have somebody there to kind of draw it out of you to make you open up and be honest with yourself on certain things. You know what I mean? If that makes sense.
Yeah. No, that's real good. Perfect insight.
So you had real good insight. Again, so to kind of answer your question, like I have two types of journals or shadow work. So the first one I got off of Amazon. I don't know if you can see it. It says Shadow Work Journal.
Oh, okay.
It's a workbook. So when you first open it, so I just show some of the pages and stuff that I wrote in.
Okay, yeah.
And this is not something that you have to come up with yourself. Every page has a topic or a sentence that you have to focus on. So that's not something you have to try to figure out like, damn, so what I'm going to talk about today. Right. So I'm just going to go over the first one. And then this one that actually explains what shadow work is in the beginning. And then it has affirmations that you say every day when you get up and before you go to bed, and have affirmations to say because it works on your subconscious. So I'm just going to read a couple. The first one is, I am loved and accepted. I am in control of my reactions. I attract laughter and happiness. My thoughts are creating future. So every day you'll just pick one of those affirmations and say it. It don't have to be when you wake up and when you go to bed. It can be throughout the day. Or if you feel as though, you're getting negative thoughts running through your head, and you just say those positive affirmations to refocus yourself and, to get back on track, so to speak. So for the first part of the journal, it has 5 lives to live. And it says, if you had 5 imaginary lives to live, what would you do and be like in each one of them? And then you just have to write it out. Okay. And then the next one is speak to your child self. So this one, it really brings out stuff because you literally have to go back and think about when you was a child, what event that may have affected you, how you felt about it. So you're literally reliving that experience that you had when you was a child. And a lot of times that is why adults are the way they are, because something happened to us as children. How we function as adults is only based off of what happened to us as children from those important ages from 1 to 7. Those are the programming years as far as what develops our personality and who we're going to be. So anything that happened in between those years, it actually speak to your child self. So you'll just say, Matt, okay, when you was 3 and I saw this is how I felt. So it literally brings out those emotions and what you experienced at that time. And then it goes on, a letter to your past self. So to answer your question, honestly, journaling should be every day. That's not something you should just do when you feel as though, well, you know what, I think I want to journal today. Because a lot of times something happened to you, and what we're doing is we're bringing and holding on to that energy unless we express ourselves, not in a violent way, but we express ourselves, releasing that energy so that way we're not holding on to it and not putting it in the back of our subconscious mind. So if you're not that type of person that verbally, express yourself on how you feel in a positive way, then yes, you should journal every day, because again, that's releasing that energy. And to answer your other question, I believe you said it was a question as far as you said you work out. That's good to release that built up energy and stuff. But again, that doesn't negate the fact that whatever happened, you still putting those thoughts in the back of your subconscious. So you're releasing the negative energy, but you're not releasing the thoughts of it. So the only way to release the thoughts of it is actually writing it down and expressing how you feel about that, opposed to just working out, whether you're punching a bag, pushing up weight, running, having sex, whatever the case is. All that is a temporary release of that negative energy. But the most important piece of it is you're still locking it in the back of your subconscious, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I'm glad you said that, because that totally answered my question about the doing the shadow work. So that's a journal, and you say, where do you get it at? You get it on Amazon?
Yeah, Amazon or TikTok.
Okay, because that makes a lot of sense. Like that totally answered my question on that, because and that makes a lot of sense, like you said. And that's one thing I've been coming to realize is I hit the bag, and like you said, it releases the negative, the physical part of it, but I'm still dealing with the mental part of it, because like you said, I haven't done anything to unlock it, to release it. I just temporarily band-aided just to get me through that day. So that's something definitely I'm going to start doing, is the journal. That's getting me used to being uncomfortable, because it's something I typically don't do. So I highly recommend anybody that don't do it, they should do it, because I love that one. That's a really good one to do, is the journal.
Now, I just want to touch on the other one. This one is better, I think, than the other one I have, because this one here is it's a little bit more personal as far as the questions. Like one of the questions is self. Your authentic self is what hides behind layers of learned masks. Is there anything you wish more people knew about you? Why don't they know already? And you just honestly just write it down. So that's one way of releasing it. And I definitely need to go back, because I kind of responded a certain type of way to somebody, and it woke me up, because I was like, damn, what that person said to me is what other people said to me. And I'm like, damn, I'm regressing, because that was something I thought I healed from, but I didn't. Because if they're saying the same exact thing that somebody else said, that means I haven't changed and grew, and I didn't actually get rid of that trauma. So I'm gonna have to get back into doing this daily, because I used to do this every day. Like as soon as something happened, I'm in my book, writing it down. And another key thing about this is you can pinpoint, because in the back of this one, it has triggers. And that's the other good thing about it. So what happens is whatever happens throughout the day, it's called track your triggers. So you write the event down, you break down the feelings. Okay, what happened? Your feelings, how did it make me feel? Thoughts, what are my thoughts? And then healing, what can I do to feel better? So these books are basically taking the place of a therapist.
Right.
That's all it
Yeah.
is. So you save yourself a whole bunch of money,
Yeah.
and it still doesn't take away from their knowledge as far as how the brain works and stuff like that. But this one is more self-centered to where it gets to the meat and potatoes, and it takes
Right.
all that terminology and stuff out of it.
Right. Right.
All right, so now moving on. So creating a safe environment is another aspect of shadow work. And one of the things is physical space, finding a quiet, comfortable place where you feel safe to explore your inner world. So for me, I have my little meditation room. So that's where I do a lot of my journaling. Is I go in there, I get into meditation, I release whatever feelings I'm having, and then I just start journaling. And then the other one is emotional safety. And this one is a big one. Ensure you have support, a good support system, whether that's family, friends, co-workers, somebody. You got to have a good support system, because you might have some people that, man, don't shadow work. That stuff don't work. That's for those people that, I don't know what they call them. But yeah, so it's important to have somebody that's going to support you and not dog you out and make you feel as though you're doing something you shouldn't be doing.
Right.
Okay, so I'm just going to answer some questions real quick and respond to a couple of comments. So Christina said, we could all use the help for therapy or counseling. It doesn't hurt, but help, and totally agree about childhood trauma that affect in a relationship. And so KJ said, can you give the name and author of the book? So for this first one, the name of the book is Shadow Work Journal, Track and Heal Emotional Trigger. It's not really an author, I don't think. It's just, yeah, I don't believe it have an author in it. All I have is the person that wrote it for the company, Zen for Note. So that one don't have an author, I'm sorry. And then this other one is the Shadow Work Journal, a guide to integrate and transcend your shadows. Again, this one don't have an author, it's just a book. And it has, like I said, the affirmations and questions and stuff to basically get deep within yourself and bring some of those hidden traumas out. All right, so we already covered journaling, which is a daily practice set aside each time to write about your thoughts and feelings, reflect on experiences and so forth. All right, and then prompts. Use prompts to delve deeper. What situations make me feel most uncomfortable or reactive? Are there patterns in my relationship that reflect unresolved issues? And that's something that you was talking about earlier, Mark, as far as your relationship. You said that, it's certain things that cause you to respond, to the women that you're dating. And it went back to, how mom treated dad and stuff.
Right.
So my question to you is, well, I know you said you hit the bag and you work out and stuff, but other than that, what have you done that you feel as though you're growing from that and you kind of getting away from it, other than the physical stuff to release that energy?
Oh, well, you hit on it a minute ago when you said get in a quiet place and meditate is something. Again, I'm new at it, so I sit here and I come and get in the room, turn the lights off, and just sit there and just think and decompress and kind of tell myself that whatever it is I've experienced is not who I am anymore. I moved on. I can definitely conquer anything and whatever it is that challenges that come before me. What has happened is not who I am now, who I was posed to 20 years ago when I was a kid or 30. So I just pretty much do that now. Or, I go parks. I like going to parks and I sit down. It's hard because I work a lot, but typically in the park, it's quiet, it's secluded, it's nature. And I sit there, pretty much the same thing I do at the house, just sit in the room or outside and just focus and just, I guess you consider that words of affirmation, just like I just said, just kind of tell myself, reassuring that, whatever has happened to me is something that's no longer is going to affect me. It's something that was then, I'm different now, just, stuff like that. And just try to practice on believing and trusting and knowing that whatever it is that I'm dealing with, the belief I don't have, it is possible. Like my whole thing with the relationship thing is, like I was saying, just give a little backstory on how mom, I think, treated dad perfectly on certain things, but the belittling is what bothered me. And this is like kind of like you were saying with black women. Now, I date a lot out of my race, and I had my lady friend tell me, and she thought that was the reason why I don't date black women, is because I told her the kind of story with mom. I said, no, that's not it. I love black women as well, but the little difference with me, not to go off subject, is I'm just pretty much more open on meeting someone. It don't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic. If you have the general morals and loving and standards, that's kind of what I base on who I date. But I did say this is something that she told me. Your problem is with black women is you felt like if they disrespect you, it brings you back to how mom did with your dad. And it was certain things that she said. I just felt like in that era we grew up and being black, and to tell a black man that, it to me, I was like, wow. And I used to say, I don't know how my dad did. I had the utmost respect for my dad, because to be called that in front of your kids is the thing that bothered me. Is like, you say this in front of your children, black men. To me, that just took a lot for dad never to. I never seen him. I don't know if you had to come back at mom or disrespect her, never called out her name. So to take that verbal abuse and just do his little thing, I was like, that's crazy. Like that dude had a lot of patience. So for me, I always told myself, I ain't gonna let no woman disrespect me and talk down to me. And I think that kind of put a defense up against black women when not necessarily they was even trying to belittle me. But if I felt like they was going that way, it's pushback. And I would automatically just flip it and start being disrespectful, not cussing or calling them out their name, but being real aggressive and just not giving them a chance. And just felt real proudful. Ego a lot was always coming out. And that's when I had to come to realize, and that's why I had that 2-year curse thing I used to talk about, where I didn't get past 2 years in a relationship and I'll cut it off because I felt like something's going to happen, something's going to go wrong. So I just automatically just, self-sabotage. I find reasons to argue and turn it around and make it seem like it was her, and I just bail and get out of relationships. And that was like 4 or 5 times in relationships I kept doing that. And the other thing is, not to go too much into detail, is my problem with going from one relationship to the other. That's my biggest stigma, is I don't take time to be by myself and just be by myself and love myself and don't feel like I have to be in a relationship to be happy. So that's something that I'm definitely working on. It's a process. So I ain't saying it's this 100 flipped or 360 or 180 for that matter, but it's work in progress. So but I'm acknowledging it, like you said. That's the key, being transparent and honest with yourself.
Well, I can tell you right now, it's definitely working because you never talked like this before. Like the way you're talking, you didn't talk like that before. So I know whatever you're doing is working, and it's like you just have to be patient, and it's going to get better. And I think the key is like really shutting it down, not dating nobody, and just working self. Because you got that and you're still dating and out there. So imagine if you actually shut yourself down and just focus on you and get rid of all that hidden trauma, dude, you attract the right people. Then you're going to keep going back in cycles, because a lot of who we attract is who we are. So, and that's why you keep going through that cycle, is because you're not healed yet. And once you get healed, then when you attract that right one, you won't have those triggers because she's going to respect you, and that's going to help your healing process continue, because you're with somebody that's helping you heal, opposed to keeping you stuck back to where you were before. So that's my little brotherly advice, as far as just focus on you. Like, I know we're getting older, but at the same time, our whole purpose here is to ascend to our higher selves, to find out what true love is, and to become that universal being, so we don't have to keep going through these cycles again. But anyway, that's my little, like I said, brotherly advice. So I'm just going to move on to the next thing, and we already touched on it as far as mindfulness and meditation. So the mindfulness, as far as practice staying present and observing your thoughts and observing your thoughts and feelings without judgment. And you're already there, like you're doing that. But the key is, it's not like judging yourself, like, man, why the hell did I do that? Just observe it like you did, but this is why I did what I did. No judgment. Okay, now I know why I did what I did. Now it's time to move forward. And that's something that I do my best to try to practice with. It's always being mindful of my thoughts and not overreacting. And like I said, I kind of went backwards because of the last couple of weeks. And I'm not a person to use excuses, but I do believe partly what I'm doing at that job, I'm dealing with so many people, like I said, that have hidden trauma and they aren't healed. And the least little thing triggered them. So that energy is affecting me. And because I'm not doing my shadow work and stuff like I used to, I'm just carrying it along with me, and it's affecting other people. So I have to get back into just being mindful of the thoughts that's going through my head on a daily basis. If someone says something, I shouldn't get pissed off and be like, well, why the hell she say that? So what's she trying to say? Or what did he say that for? What are you trying to say? And just being mindful of it and say, okay, everybody that speak negative or say something hateful is because they didn't get rid of their trauma and they're basically acting out on it. So we can't take it personal per se and just look at it as, just face value and just truly believe, okay, this person's not directing it directly at me. It's only because they unhealed. And the only way they can release that energy is letting it out on somebody else. So that's what shadow work does. It helps you look at things from a different perspective. And like I was saying, all these people out here clapping back and these stupid diss tracks and stuff is ridiculous. These are unhealed people. And again, society is continuing to put garbage in and garbage out. And what do? We sit back, look at it, soak it up, and entertained by it, and not realizing it's affecting us in a negative way opposed to a positive way. So this is people that we shouldn't marvel at and like, you see what Drake said about Lamar, he hit Lamar, clap back. Yeah, they got dances and stuff off of it. And these are unhealed people. And because regardless what someone says about you, you shouldn't clap back. Only thing you say is like, love, peace, and light. I hope you get healed. And I'm not taking it directly personal because I know it's something in you that's not healed. And I'm not even going to address it or take it personal and hold it true to me.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, moving along. I'm going to be up here preaching and nothing. But therapeutic techniques. Professional help, working with a therapist, especially one trained in trauma and shadow work, can provide guidance and support. So I don't want to take away from therapists. I study psychology. They do come in handy because they do have the experience and the knowledge as far as how the brain works, as far as helping you to a point to where you're not so overwhelmed and you're doing more damage than good. So that's where the actual therapist comes in. And then the techniques is EDMR, which is eye movement desensitization and reprocessing internal family systems, which is called IFS. Cognitive therapy behavior, CBT, can be effective in addressing hidden trauma. So these are the things that we can actually go to for a therapist, and they'll provide. They'll perform these techniques on us, and that's another form of getting rid of hidden trauma.
Okay. So I was going to say on that. Now I don't know if you can actually answer that or just give your opinion. So like you said, that the one you just spoke on, you would get that more or less from an actual therapist. So if you feel like you have done or had a breakthrough with the shadow work, with the meditation and all the ones you mentioned, and you feel like you good, do you even really need to get a therapist if you feel like you progressed and you ascended to the next level and you're not hindered by your past? Do you necessarily have to do that? And I guess the other question, if you can even answer, is on a process like that, that's pretty much, I'm guessing, would be at a pace of how you handle that. In other words, could that be at 6 months to a year, year and a half? Hopefully it won't take that long. But I mean, I'm just saying, like, on more or less, how would you gauge the process of that as far as healing yourself? I guess again, I'm answering my own question. Is the how you handle it, how you go at it. If you somebody do it for a month and then stop and then come back because you feel like you need that shadow work again, or that's something that should be a process 3 months consistently to really, you know, put a dent in that and feel like you really help heal yourself at some
Okay.
point.
All right, that's a good question.
You gotta excuse me for a minute. I'm sorry. That's a real good question. The number one identifier that somebody's not truly healed is, like I was saying, if somebody's triggered, whether it's by what someone said, how someone looks at you, a certain environment that you're in. Like you said, you went back to the what was it, Taste of New Orleans, and you felt down. It's
Right.
because you weren't healed from it, so it triggered you emotionally. So anytime you're not triggered by anything, that's one way of knowing that you're healed. Triggers is the number one identifier that someone is not healed. If someone says something to you, whether if they're joking or they're serious, and it affects you to the core, to where you respond, with violence or with verbal abuse or action, how do you treat them? Then you're not healed. So that would be one indicator to say, okay, me doing this myself, all this journaling and meditation is not working. So then, to me, that would be the best time to reach out to a trained professional, because it's obvious it's a little bit deeper than just meditating and doing journaling. So for me, somebody else might give you a different answer, but for me, from what I observed and the stuff that I heal from, that's the number one indicator, is if you're not triggered, then you definitely heal from it. Because if somebody can say something to you and do something, you just look and laugh, and it don't take you back, because that's what triggers do. It take you back to that moment. And that's something I learned when I was going through school, is that people always act out on that person or they look at that person is mean, they this, they that. And a lot of times it's because they're responding based off of what happened to them that triggered them. So they're not responding to you, they're responding to that event that caused that trauma. And that's why they're acting out. So that's why you sometimes can't take things so personal.
Right.
And that's kind of a bad thing for me, because I kind of say things to people and it hurt them. But like, my intention is not to hurt them, because I'm under the belief that words should not hurt you. If you truly know who you are and you're not dealing with trauma, people can say whatever the hell they want to say to you, and it should not affect you.
Yeah.
And you can just disconnect yourself from, okay, I see how you are. Like I said, you're not healed. I wish you love, peace, and light. When you're healed, come back and we can do whatever. But not to the point to where you're upset and you cussing and you fussing and you hurt and you emotionally defeated and you crying and stuff. I'm not trying to sound insensitive. I'm just saying that that's a sign that you have some hidden trauma that you never healed. Because regardless of what someone says to you, you should be comfortable as far as who you are and not let that affect you. And to kind of get off topic a little bit, that's the difference between someone that's 3D and someone that's 4D and sending to 5D, because everything 3D is all emotion. It's all the physical senses. So if anything affects you, it's because you're still within that dimension and or you're not healed, and you're just soaking that stuff in. It's just taking you back to whoever hurt you before. So I hope that answered your question.
Oh yeah, yeah, that did definitely 100%. Yeah, yeah,
Did they answer your question?
yeah. I guess you didn't hear me, but yeah, that was perfect. Yeah, that definitely shed a lot of light on how I was looking at that. So yeah, that was a good answer to that. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to get to these other ones 'cause I know we're getting close. All right, so the next one, again, you already covered this, is the inner child work, is reconnecting with your inner child, the part of you that holds childhood memories and expectations or experiences. You already said it, so I don't think we have to go back over that or talk about that. Now, the other part, now this one, I don't do it verbally. In the book, it kind of does it as far as going back to when you was a child. And it's basically engage in a dialogue with your inner child through writing or visualization, offering reassurance and understanding to past wounds. Because in the book, it would say, okay, whatever you experienced in your childhood, how would you address your child or your inner self when you was 5 years old? So you had to literally go as if you was 5 and you're talking to yourself. It was like, Mark, I know you experienced that, with your mom, but your mom was probably going through some things. She was raised a certain type of way. Something in her life affected her to whereas, she held on to it. And I don't think it's anything directed at you. Just love her and just hope that and pray for her that she's going to be delivered and she can recognize her faults. And you're still an amazing person. So that's like what they're talking about when they say you talk to your younger self. Because subconsciously, we're still living through our younger selves. So if you're talking to your younger self, subconsciously, you're basically giving yourself, your inner self at ease and affirmation, it's going to be okay. You are special. That wasn't directed at you. That doesn't mean that you're not worth anything. So that's basically what the dialogue is when they're talking about, talking to your inner self, whether it's verbally or doing it by visualization, going back to that time when you was a child, and or writing it down. When I went through a therapy session, she used the visualization part of it, and that was interesting. It was like you had to sit there, you had to go through the breathing techniques, and you had to close your eyes, and you had to like really visualize yourself going back, talking to a younger Mark, and sitting down, looking at him, and you just talking to him, and just giving him positive, affirmation and saying, Mark, you're good, you're great, you're just as smart as anybody else. You can do whatever it is that you want to do. Don't let what people say to you affect you. And you continually do that, subconsciously, you're going to heal, and then it's going to basically go to your subconscious, and that's when you act on it.
Yeah, that's good stuff. It's really good stuff.
Okay, so I don't know if you had any feedback or thoughts on that.
No, I mean, I just concur because it's perfectly said. I mean, it makes a lot of sense. So it's not much to question because you pretty much answered it. But I mean, I believe that, and I believe that's something that definitely will work because it makes sense. Now, it's just something what you were saying though just had me kind of reminisce when you talk to your childhood, your inner your child, and when you was younger, and that's something that I ain't gonna say I've been doing that, but I've been kind of like just reassuring myself in a sense because it was some things that has affected me, and I noticed when it comes out in conversations when I talk to people, it was always I felt like I was being challenged with my ability to of knowledge. So that was something that I get real defensive, and I'll always come back. Who you talking to? I ain't stupid. Like I get so defensive, like you said, a trigger. So that's something but I have been transparent with myself about lately and been like, yeah, so I've been kind of just reassuring myself, but I didn't do the inner child thing, but it makes sense the way you broke it down. So that's definitely something to do. And I think, like you said, everybody has that stuff that they need to acknowledge and say, hey, yeah, I need to do this because it definitely will work. I feel like because you have been with a psychiatrist, I feel like if you don't do that, the shadow part will work with the journal and all that, but maybe you do still need that therapist to kind of, again, even though you're doing all the other stuff, to kind of have you do the, like you said, the visualization part of it, and just kind of be there to draw it out. Like talking to you is kind of like helping me, because I ain't saying you're a therapist, but because the knowledge that you have would be the closest thing. Because to me, a person that's a therapist probably just has the degrees and the experience, but they probably saying the same thing that you would say, or anybody else that has that wisdom, is what I call it. But I feel like that would be beneficial, though, is the point I'm trying to make. At the end of the day, because I feel like that hearing that from someone too will help as much as doing it on your own. That's just be my only feedback on that. But definitely the journal. That's definitely on my list to do, the top of the list.
All right, I'm going to read some comments that just came up.
Okay, so KJ said that's why the way we treat the children in our lives is very so important. That is 100% on point. And it's crazy because, unfortunately, there's a lot of children that don't get treated with respect and true love, the way that they should, because half of them don't have that knowledge. They don't know that the years from 1 to 7 is the most important years in a child's life, because that's the programming years, and anything that they experience is going to affect them, when they become older. So it is important to treat children, the way they're supposed to be treated, and know that, okay, we're basically building an adult. I don't want to say building, but we're cultivating an adult. And then KJ says, recognizing triggers is also important. Any ideas on how to identify triggers? Because they are often hard to identify when you are in it, in it alone. Okay, so this is just my experience. To me, triggers aren't hard to identify. That comes back to the mindfulness and just being aware in every situation that you're in, what's being said, the environment, and how you respond to it. Because based off of how you respond to it, whether it's verbally, physically, or emotionally, will let you know that you're triggered. If you respond in a negative way, not a positive way, a negative way, that is one sign that that's a trigger, and there's something deep down that affected you at some point in your life that is triggering you. And the reason why I say that is because if it's something, again, I'm not talking about somebody that has negative intent. I'm talking about somebody that has positive intention, and they're not like literally trying to beat you up or, verbally abuse you. I'm not talking about that. And it's obvious it's not you. But I'm speaking on if someone just in a general conversation and they say something, and like Mark just said, he responded in a certain type of way, is because that was a trigger to him, because he was traumatized at some point in his childhood, that anytime somebody said something, whether it was a word or how they said it, it triggered him and it brought back that emotion, and that's what he responded to. So for anybody, and to answer your question, pay attention in every moment and situation that you're in, how you respond to it. Again, more so when it's a positive interaction, not negative, because the positive interaction will definitely let you know, hey, I shouldn't have responded like that. Because a lot of times the person that say it, they're going to let you know, why are you reacting like that? What are you tripping about? I didn't even say anything. And you like, yes, you did. You said that. And then it becomes a verbal confrontation. If you're not mindful, okay, this person really wasn't trying to put me down. They was just saying something. Then that should be a sign. Okay, so I want to try to finish these before we get too over the time. Okay, so dream analysis, dream journaling. Now, this is another point. When I told Candy about this, because she be having some dreams, I'll be having some too. Keeping a journal by your bedside to record dreams. Dreams are often revealed hidden aspects of the psyche. Now, I'm pretty sure you heard this, and everybody out there that's watching, everybody have some form of belief of why we dream and what a dream is. So for me, this one is going to be hard to really speak on because it's so subjective. Because based off of how you perceive what dreams are is going to determine how you journal and what you receive from it. So for me, I believe that there are different dimensions. And when we go and dream and we astral travel, for those that know how to astral travel and know what that is, you're in another dimension. Others believe, and I believe this as well, whatever's on our subconscious comes out, materializes in our dreams. Then others believe whatever you dream is messages of letting you know what's going on in your life is either hurting you, helping you. It's either a warning or confirmation. So it's so many different ways to look at and interpret what a dream is. But that's another way of doing shadow work. It's just when you have a dream, always just write it down. Every time up until this point, even to this day, every time I dream, it always results back to home. Everything I dream about, always I'm back at the house. I just had a dream last night. I'm gonna share this with you real quick. So the dream was I was with a partner and we was laying in bed and we was talking and you came in. And so you started talking to the person I was with, and the person that I'm dating started cursing and stuff. And I was like, damn, what's wrong? You okay? You don't normally curse like that. What's going on? You all right? And he's like, yeah, I'm all right. And because I had issues as far as things that happened between us when we was growing up as young adults, I was offended because I thought you was flirting with her and she was attracted to you and there was something going on. So I responded in a negative way. So this is where it gets crazy. So there was a bumper to a car on the side and I'm like digging through the bumper and I'm still talking to her like, why are you talking to him like that? You don't talk like that to me. Long story short, you got up and left. We was at home in our house, 5611.
Right.
Now my Jaguar appears in the living room. And she goes over and she turns on the car and the car just starts vibrating and shaking and just going all crazy. And then it comes back to I'm here and it hits the window and then it hits the other side and it's just getting real crazy. And you come out the kitchen, what the hell you do that for? And you was like all in her face, you stupid, what the hell you do that for? So I'm, of course, going to take up for her. So I jumped up and said, what the hell are you talking to her like that for? And so the car just really getting crazy. It's flipping and turning. So I get in the car, I turn it off, and then I catch you and I jump and tackle you and we fall out the window. And we hit the ground and you jump up. He said, that's all right. I'm going to go call 5-0. I'm going to get y'all busted. I'm going to get y'all hemmed up. And I was like, well, take your ass on and go ahead and do it. And I was like, call the police, call the police. This dude come running out the other side of the house. It looked like a gun, but he had a knife. He had on an army shirt and he running towards me. So we get into it. And then another dude come out and we get into it and you still on the side and you laughing and stuff. And I wake up. So long story short, I don't know what the hell that dream meant.
Yeah, I don't either. That's a crazy dream.
But trust me, I have dreams that I could tell you this crazy. So that's basically what this is saying is dream analysis, dream journaling, and then interpretation is looking for reoccurring themes or symbols that might indicate unresolved trauma and reflect on what these might mean in the context of your waking life. So for me, something that happened in the house traumatized me so much that every time I dream, I go back to 5611.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. To me, it sounded like it was 3 different occasions of something happened and they all got meshed together with the Jaguar. That has nothing to do with you and I, but I think something happened with the Jaguar and in the house, like you said, and then the situation. So it's all meshed in one little dream, which is, that's interesting. That's definitely different. But yeah, that's why it's a dream. But it's funny when you talk about that because lately I haven't been dreaming. If somebody asked me that, do you dream? I was like, actually, she asked me, do you dream every night? And I said, typically I do, but lately I haven't had dreams. I just fall asleep, wake up, and that's it. Or I just can't remember them. So that's
Yeah.
crazy that you brought that up, because now I'm sitting here thinking about it. I don't have them as often as I used to. And when I do, I typically have dreams about being a movie star. It's just silly, but I'm not gonna go into that. But it's not like nothing that would correlate to childhood trauma or anything like that. But I guess that's just my own subconscious and who I would love to be, I guess, as a movie star. So I don't know. But yeah, I always be an action hero. A lot of them.
That's funny because I used to
Anyway.
do that too. That's one of mine. So that's
Yeah.
true. That's the twin effect right there.
Yeah.
Right. So creative expression, art therapy, engaging in creative activities like drawing, painting, music. I listen to binaural beats. I listen to stuff that has positive vibration and frequency behind it. And then what is it? Symbolism. Use symbolism to represent different aspects of your shadow, helping to externalize and understand them better. So, and then body awareness, somatic practices incorporate body-based therapies like yoga, Tai Chi, or somatic experiencing to release trauma stored in the body. Now, this one, I know this one to be true because when I was doing massage therapy, so many people came in that had some type of trauma, whether if there was a woman that was assaulted, if someone was in an accident, certain parts of their body, when I touched them, they would like clench up. You could feel their muscles contracting. It's because they had that hidden trauma, they never got it released. So getting consistent massages, doing yoga, again, that's expressing and getting that energy out, and it's releasing that trauma that's held in our body. So I know a lot of people that, especially women, because unfortunately they are more abused more so than anyone else. So if I don't know if you ever been with a female, you touch them a certain type of way, you can kind of feel them like clench up.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Or if you move to warm, you can feel them like kind of move back a little bit. It's because that trauma is still within them. That hidden trauma is still held in their body somewhere. So just doing stuff like yoga and Tai Chi, massages is going to help release that. So all this stuff helps with shadow work. It's just getting rid of those hidden traumas of stuff that we were keeping hidden and just not letting that stuff out.
I guess this is going to answer my question. Is Reiki? That's pretty much another way of therapy, right? Is Reiki, because that opens up a lot of your childhood and those stuff. So would you recommend that?
I'm going to a class for that.
Yeah.
I'm about to get certified for it.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah.
So that's another one. Interesting.
Okay, so just to close this up, I'm just going to touch on these last two or last one, which is self-compassion and patience. And I already was telling you that earlier, as far as being gentle with yourself. Shadow work can be challenging, and it requires time, patience, and practice. So it's not something that's going to happen overnight. It's something that we have to do. I can't reiterate this enough. It's something that we have to do it. And no offense or no attack on anybody, but I know we have Christians and stuff out there, not just Christian, Muslims, whatever you practice. That's a part of it, but you can't just focus on, I'm just going to pray it away. It's not going to, you have to do this shadow work. You have to work on that hidden trauma. That's the only way we're going to get better. And like I said, ascend to who we're supposed to be. And then acknowledging the progress is celebrate small victories and progress in your journaling toward healing and integration. That's another way of knowing that you're growing, because you asked that question earlier, is just going back and reading through your journals. That's why, for me, journaling is so important, because you always have a history of it. You can literally see, if you don't see it and other people don't see it, you'll know. You go back and look and read your journal, it's like, wow, I don't respond to that like I used to.
Right.
I don't do those same things I did a year ago or 5 years ago. And you look and say, okay, this stuff really did work. Okay, I'm doing good. pat yourself on the back and say, good job, Matt. Keep going. Keep pushing.
Yeah.
So just having that acknowledge of progress, like your famous thing is progression. And, that's it. So I'm just going to conclude with that. And then I want to hear your perspective on your closure. But just engage in the shadow work to expose and heal. Hidden trauma is a deeply personal and transformative journey. It requires courage, self-awareness, and a commitment, like you always say, Mark, a commitment to self-care by gradually, not instantly, but gradually uncovering and integrating these hidden aspects of our lives so we can move forward to our higher self. We can be balanced, authentic, and be empowered within ourselves. And just remember to seek support when needed and honor your unique self in the process of healing. So beautiful people, do the shadow work on yourself, become a better you, and just continue to ascend. And yeah, that's all I have. Just remember, your thoughts becomes your belief, and your belief becomes your reality.
Yeah, so I'm gonna just close with, like I started, is something that I'm working on. It's going to be challenging, get out of your comfort zone, but it's definitely, just after this show, it opened my eyes a lot more on understanding of shadow work. And I employ everybody to do it, because we all have issues in our lives that we want to kind of push away or ignore. So don't ignore it. Put in that work. And like you said, it's going to better us, extend to be better people. So at the end of the day, in a nutshell, do what you got to do to get to that next level, because we all need to do it. Let's not keep hiding from it and ignoring it. And that's what I'm starting to do right now. So I'm definitely going to put in the work and practice what I preach. So on that note, STS, stay focused, trust your process, and most of all, stay consistent.
All right, beautiful people. Y'all be safe. Enjoy